Now that Bob is done.
Yes.
Look at you, totally knocked my book down. You're such a mean face.
Oh.
I too can stand my book up
Stand on that.
as well. In addition to, they do, yes. Yeah, I love pictures.
I'm just gonna be like, no, I'm just kidding. Why? You're not in a public space session. Here it is.
I'm not going to be in the floor. I have scribbles. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
We're not very academic.
No.
Not in the slightest. Well, at least I can't speak for other people, but I'm trying to.
I dropped out of college for a reason.
I was an academic, and then I got better. Did I say academic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I have aphasia too.
I never went to college, so that's exciting and fun. So, welcome. Huh?
Yeah. Do you want
Yeah.
me to lottery?
I mean, whatever.
Oh, okay. Hi, welcome to our panel.
Finding representation in comics. My name is Ethan. I'm from, well, that's a lie. Like, ugh. I'm from Houston, Texas. I live in Austin, Texas right now. And I draw mostly illustrations for various social movements. So for like Black Lives Matter, Strong Families, different like national campaigns, as well as just autobiographical comics that center around the Black community, my experience navigating through various communities in like a queer, trans, Black body. That is what I do.
Hi, I'm Loki. I'm from Los Angeles. I am a part-time bone marrow transplant pediatric nurse, and I'm also a part-time comic artist. My work focuses on queer fantasy with a historical spin and increasing LGBT and racial representation in a variety of genres. I'm all about making sure that we have more varieties of stories, because I grew up reading a lot of high fantasy, and I grew up reading a lot of historical fiction, and I kind of just wanted to see more queer and trans characters being placed in places where they can be the protagonists of their own stories, and stories where it's not necessarily the focus of them trying to overcome people being mean about their gender or sexuality, and I just wanted to have bigger stories than what is often provided for us.
Hello, my name is Taneka Stotts. I am the co-founder of Beyond Press, the publisher of Beyond, queer science fiction and fantasy comic anthology, and our latest book, Elements Fire, an anthology of creators of color. I create space because it doesn't exist, and I can do it.
Oh wait, it's me. Hi, I'm Graham. I am a cartoonist and comic artist and house husband who comes out of Portland, Oregon. These are the two things that I've brought. I have a tree-based theme. This is the Creativity Tree, which is a coming-of-age story about a queer trans kid who wants to be an artist when they grow up, and it's not actually about their transition. It's about a different kind of transition. And this is just a fun thing about a bunch of trees. And I'm here for many of the same reasons that Mr. Loki is here, although he said it a lot better than me. There were a lot of things that I consumed as a kid, a lot of fantasy, and I did not see myself in it. And so I figured, as I got older, and actually started finding stuff that I liked, I was going to do that. I was going to make more of that. And that's why I'm on this panel.
The end.
Now go home, make your own representation, no one cares.
Represented it all. So yeah, I guess part of the reason that I started creating comics, one, I was trying to figure out a way to deal with having mental illness and gender identity and trying to figure all that out, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna draw my feelings. So I did. So I started there, and as it evolved, and as I started to kind of document my own story, people started to reach out and be like, you know, like, thank you for saying that, or I get that all the time, or this is something that I never thought of, et cetera, and I was like, a word? Like, is that real? Like, is this something that people are just not privy to? So being able to share my slice of life as like an agender, transmasculine, queer, glitter cloud being that also happens to be Black and living in Texas and sharing out this story that resonated with not only people in my community, but people in other communities. It felt very powerful in that moment to be like, hell yeah, like, yeah, you're not alone. But at the same time, it was very hurtful to hear that I wasn't alone, if that makes sense. It was strange to know that there were other people experiencing similar situations that I thought were, you know, specifically unique to me. And my heart was breaking for them as well. So it's been a very cathartic to be able to create these comics and create space for like Black queer identity to exist, with all the stigma that gets attached to it in all the ways that it does, and being able to dive deep, be able to dismantle it a little bit and like open up those discussions visually and create that visual noise and just kind of disrupt the internet for a moment to just be unapologetically Black, unapologetically queer, and give no fucks. Pardon my French.
I grew up in a conservative Asian and Christian household, so I didn't even know, first of all, that you could be FTM trans. Like, I just thought, oh, it only goes the other way, because I had never seen myself in any kind of media, let alone seeing myself as a Southeast Asian in any kind of media, really. So when I finally figured that out, by the time I realized that you could do those things, and that was a thing that does exist, that you can be trans and you can be trans and gay, I was already about to graduate high school and I was almost in college. And it made me realize, and I figured that out by, I found a comic, a webcomic online. It was only maybe 7 or 8 pages. It was not finished, and it was just, you know, this person getting their hair cut, coming to the realization that they're trans, saying that they self-identified as gay, and I was like, wow, that's the thing, you can do that? That's the thing you can do? So I was able to Google it, and it made me realize just how important it is to see yourself, not only in the sense of, not only in the sense of, you know, being able to see yourself at all, but just knowing that it is affirming you, that you are, as a person, deserve to exist in this world, and that the person that you are, you're not crazy, you deserve to be here, and that there are other people like you, and it made me realize how important that is. And so that's why I just decided that I wanted to create a lot of different comics so that I could try to reach a lot of different people. So I do a lot of short comics, I do work on a long form comic, but I do a lot of my work in short comic form just so that I can, you know, maybe if this comic isn't for you, maybe this one will be. And that was just really important for me to try to impress on people. And I just want people to feel good about themselves, because hell knows I didn't when I was growing up, because I didn't even know that I could exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I create comics mostly because, let's just face it, comics suck sometimes. You look at them, you expect really great stories, sometimes you get super disappointed because representation just isn't there. So being honest with yourself, you want to inject that representation, you want to make that space for it. So I created a space for everyone to showcase their own forms of representation without any narration that would take it into a different scope or field to make it more palatable for other people to digest. I wanted to make it very open and on the same level where it couldn't be just dismissed as just pandering or any other form of creation or representation, because it's our representation made by us. So I looked very deeply into not only we need diverse books, But I looked into it as more as we also need diverse creators. Because while they are starting to fill certain gaps, they're ignoring the voices that already exist that can tell their own stories. And I wanted to twist that completely and let us tell our own stories. That's why Elements Fire came. It also was born from the fact that when I created Beyond, the queer science fiction fantasy comic anthology, I'm just going to call it Beyond from here on out. When I created Beyond, I had a lot of fun. I was also just a contributor originally. It just happened that the way the cards fell, I ended up becoming the publisher and the co-creator of the book. However, the importance of that book being needed was something that was deep and it resonated with a lot of people, and it was something that I understood on a deep level, and me being a queer black youth, at the same time, understood that there are other people like that out there who are me that weren't represented in that exact volume and in that exact space. But I could make an exact space for it and just watch them go out on their own. Give them their own fire, give them their own speculative rights, where they don't have to do the narration of sad, tragic gay, or fridge, or queer in a very skewed way where it's all just about their queerness and not about the stories, the adventures that they could have. Therefore, these spaces were created, and I'm very proud of these spaces. I love these spaces, because these spaces should exist for everybody from the get-go. It's the space that I was given by my mother and father while I was being raised and grown into the person that I am now. I'm very grateful and respectful for that. Even if my mother's crazy, you know, we can have our differences.
Of course I'm at the end. I mean, they all basically said what I feel like.
Great,
I'm like, okay, I'm pulling up the train. Let's see here. I think, what else can I contribute? ElfQuest changed everything for me. I'm going to be a geek, okay? I'm just going to be a nerd. It was 1994. I want to say 8 years old, maybe, something like that. It was 1994, so I was 9. I was 9. I got the big, hard-backed first issue of ElfQuest. It belonged to my aunt. I broke into her trailer and like got all of her lesbian comics. She had collected them for me. And here was this book. And it was huge. I had to spread it across my legs or like lay it out on the floor, and I was flipping through it, and it was this story. It was this story, and it lit me on fire because it was this family, and they had to go through all of this stuff, and it was insane, and there were black people. And you have to understand, this was the first comic I had ever seen where there was black people. And one of them was the secondary main character. She was the love interest. And I was just like, I didn't want it to end, and then it did. And I flipped back over and I read the title. I was like, who did this? It was Wendy and Richard Pinney. And I'm like, a brother and a sister made this? Because, you know, I was 9 years old and I could not understand why anybody would want to get married. I'm married now, but you know, that's the joke me and younger me have. And true things happened because I read that. Wendy Pinney, and that had been the artist. That was the person who created this world that I wanted to belong to so bad. This is baby's first fandom. I fell hard. Oh God, it lasted for years. And two things happened. I went, a woman did this. That means that I can do something like this too. And the second thing that happened was, I'm going to read all of this. I'm going to dig up everything that I can find that's like this. Surely there's got to be more of this. Have you ever gone into a comic store as a little girl? And that led me to the third thing, which was, I'm going to grow up someday, and I'm going to make it so that somebody who looks like me and feels like me can go into a place like this and get more of that thing that sets you on fire. And so that drove me my entire life. I've been quietly behind the scenes just going, this is my little fire, and I'm going to make sure that nobody blows it out, and it's going to eventually get very, very big. And that's why I think I'm on this panel, because I share this specific interest with all three of you. I want to create more spaces where that can happen for younger people. I want to create more spaces where people at any age can go, you can do that? I want that to happen. I think that's very important because representation matters a lot. And if all you're taking in are stories where you and the characters that you like and the scenarios that you like are all on the margins or vilified or this clumsy shorthand, what it said to me as a small person was, all these things that are important to me aren't important to these narratives. That means maybe I'm not important. I don't think that's true. And I think that it's very important that everybody gets a chance to have that. To go, yeah, that's me, I'm the main character, I like these people, I like, the central character is my favorite character. I did not grow up with that because that was not the narrative that was being fed to me. It was for someone else. And I honestly think that more representation would help those people too, because it's astonishing to get a chance to explore a new world, even if you're the, marginal character. That's why I kept reading it, even if it sucked. Why do you have to keep killing off my favorite characters? So,
It's okay to say comics suck sometimes. It's
comics
really
suck
okay.
sometimes, and that's why I'm here, because I love them.
Yeah, it's okay for the things that we love to suck and for us to still enjoy it. We usually have guilty pleasures or things that we don't want to talk about in public, gargoyles and stuff like that. What? Xanatos was high? I'm just going to tell you, we all had things that weaned us when we were younger to get to the point where we are now as creators.
Project
And-
Eco.
Okay.
Ganondorf. What?
You never stopped with Ganondorf.
No, I
That's
don't-
the thing. Like, that's still your thing. That's literally your phone screensaver. So Phantom never dies, just so you know. And LiveJournal lives on forever, even if it's owned by Russia.
It keeps sending me
Delete
like
your
birthday
LiveJournal.
reminders.
Delete your LiveJournal. There's still the Wayback Machine, so unless you have that thing friends locked, you're screwed. Well, nobody can find my old Harry Potter fan fiction. It's okay.
Someone has like a Pokemon fanfic that I've only made one fanfic in the whole world, and it was like this like gay erotic Pokemon fanfic. No Pokemon.
We're hard creating this Pokemon fanfic.
It was just like really intense, like James and like Ash.
James was brown. Like
Yeah, I was
I was
like-
always like, James is dope.
James is it, and yes. And so anyway, I'm 31 years old. I wrote that when I was like 16 or 17, and I still get fucking emails being like, so-and-so replied to a comment on your, I was like, it's one chapter of a really bad Pokemon fanfic. Let it die. Let it go, there's more. Let it go.
And this is why I'm so happy that I started making my embarrassing stuff like in college.
Oh my God.
Just like, I feel...
This is being videoed, so I'm not even going to mention anything that I wrote. I'm just not.
You'll never find the
You'll
fanfic.
never find it. There might be a crossover with Inuyasha and Brokeback Mountain, but I'm not going to tell you about it.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, there are many things that inspire you in life, and they'll stick with you for the rest of it if it's on the internet. That's all.
It will. The internet's amazing.
The internet is amazing. It's what gives us the current status of representation that we have today.
Yeah.
It's why we can scream and yell and bitch and moan at Marvel when they're like, diversity doesn't sell. Oh, really, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Well, first off, I'm an English major and I know Excel really well.
Tumblr
And I
after
found your
Tumblr.
P&L listings. And your P&L listings are your actual product numbers that you get from your actual retail versus the numbers that you get back from Diamond. And actually, these #1 books outsold your other shitty books by about 66%, so eat it. So that's
Twitter conversation,
I mean,
by the way.
that is the Twitter conversation that is now being invoked. If you're going to make a stupid comment, know that it's going to be on the internet. Somebody is going to have a reply for it. So, get ready. That's kind of like what we're putting out into the open, I feel, these days.
Right, but on the others. Oh.
Oh, I'm just over here, I am just one reaction to get my life.
Oh, yeah. Where's Michael Jackson?
No.
I was about to say, on the flip side of that, fan fiction is a powerful force, and I don't think it should be underestimated. I think it's its own legitimate thing right now. And I mean,
I'm not gonna shade. It's more than just Twilight or 50 Shades of Grey. Like, it doesn't matter what you're basing it off of, or a lot of things are gonna wean us throughout our lives, and usually those interests are found through other creative venues that first inspire us. Right now, it's like Yuri on Ice for a lot of folks, and for a lot of others, it's like Hi Cuties, or there's many other things. It's beyond just our current Western scope. We have a large Eastern scope as well. We have Korean manhwa, we have manga in general, we have yaoi and yuri and hentai and ecchi. Like, we could make a whole rap song about it. It would sound like a Pokemon rap. It would be really cool. But at the end of the story, it's okay to have those other forms of representation, find them maybe slightly problematic, and then to excel or just work upon them and use them as a starting base, because they were still a good place when they were being created. They were still trying to, again, fill a form of representation and make sure that it existed. Somebody felt that that didn't exist at that time and they wanted to fill it, and they did. So we can do the same. Nobody is just like given like a golden pass and it's like, all right, now you're a publisher. You can make yourself a publisher now. You have many other platforms and venues to become publishers. You can use Kickstarter. You can just go to small press. You can go print at your damn Kinko's. You can look up online how to make a zine. You can do a lot of things to start injecting your voice and your spirit into what you want to see out there. There are many people who want to see more non-binary representation, more asexual representation, more queer, more gender fluid representation. These are things that, if these words invoke something within you and you want to see it exist, cool, go fucking make it. Because you can definitely do it now, and nobody can really rein you in or moderate you. You can have your own voice, except for our government, which is currently trying to kill our taxes right now, so that we can't do our write-offs anymore. But that is another fight that we'll fight another day. But the representation that you're looking for now, it's something that you can create, and it's something that you can inject into the world as well. It's not just us here on the panel as we look on the other side. Most of you are writers or creators in your own right. You might be musicians. You might have little things that you do that make you happy, that you're invoking your own queer or non-queer narrative into, but you're trying to make it exist, so please do.
I mean, if it's important to you, it's definitely important to somebody else. And the thing is, I started this about 3 years ago. I made this, which is 4 short comics. I just made 4 short comics, put them online. And I said, I want to get this printed. And so I Googled how other people were doing it. I got it printed. This one I made three non-binary genderqueer short comics, and I said I want to get it printed. And so I just went to the local print shop and I got it printed. And then I went to cons and I sold it, and then people thought that was a big deal. And so it's like, you just do it. You can do it, and it's not hard. You just have to put, it's hard as in like the self-discipline, but if you put in the work and you make it, there will be people who will find it and say that is important to me. This is something that I wanted, and that's kind of what has kept me going through this entire process is, when I go to conventions or those people online who are saying, I needed this. This is what I needed right now. This is what I needed 3 years ago. Thank you so much for making it. And just that little token, whether or not they give you money or not, it doesn't matter, because that little thing, it's feeding little you from years ago when you never saw yourself, and knowing that you're making a difference in somebody's life that you may or may not see again, but knowing that you gave them the strength to keep going on, to believing that the person that they are, which is invalidated by mainstream media and all of that, that they deserve to exist whether or not people tell them that they can or not. Because you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know if this comic that they walked away with is the only queer media that they were able to get their hands on, and that they're going back home to a very anti-queer household. And so, if you want to make it, just make it. There's going to be people who are going to embrace you for it.
I quite agree, with all the sentiment. Of course, there are barriers that are unique to each one of us in whatever journey that we're on towards whatever end goal that may be. I know that sounded really, really vague and really blasé, but it's true. To be just who you are, and see, like you're saying, seeing that representation, it feels good. but also going out and meeting the people that your works influence and that your works touch, and like how far out it goes and how far out it spreads, is also very, very exciting to know that it's not something that it's just going to stay stagnant on some bookshelf somewhere or some obscure fan's garage, like a poster or something along those lines, but to know that it's something tangible, something that unites and pulls together many, many people from many walks of life, from these little short stories, or a vignette of my life, or stories that have just been pulled together from many, many people and just woven into one big anthology. Like, it doesn't matter where it comes from, when it pulls everyone together, it feels so good, and it feels so nice. And like on the flip side, it can also be very, very isolating sometimes, or maybe that's just like my experience, and just like where I am, like geographically, to be this individual who is just dangling it out there, or just like, it sounds kind of gross, but just being very, I just say, like unapologetic, just like unapologetically myself, and then going into these spaces where it's like just going into the space just makes it queer as fuck. And you're just like, okay, now I'm gonna like try to peddle you my like black queer comics. And so it's a very niche market, or like walk of life or experience. So whenever I am out and I'm like sharing my work or talking to people and things along those lines, like their mind's like, comics, and then they go like, Super Mario, not Super Mario, wow. You can tell where my brain is. I want to play Super Mario Run so bad right now.
There is a Super Mario comic, you're covered.
Yeah, woo! Nailed it. But it goes like Superman and like Batman.
Here we go.
What, you never had Super Mario Dojinshi?
No, I've never had Super
Oh,
Mario
okay.
Dojinshi.
Wow.
I'll let you look at my comics when you come over to the house next time.
Oh my gosh, I want to see that. I don't even like live near you. Just like snap me a picture.
I'll snap you pics. Snap stories.
Yeah. But going into those spaces and like feeling my otherness no matter what it is. So like when I go to like different places around Austin and like vending and things along those lines, to be like the only black person in that space, and I'll be like, ooh, you are not going to understand anything that I am selling you today because I don't relate to you. So it's very, very otherizing. And then when I go into predominantly black spaces, going in like just hella queer, and then being like, hey, let's talk about homophobia and queerphobia in the black community through comics. So it's not always the most welcome experience, and so it's very, very taxing emotionally to like try to like hold that together, but also like not being afraid of taking that on, because there has to be at least one person in that venue, one person in that conference, one person in the convention, somewhere that is going to relate to it, that's going to see it, pick it up, take it home, and it's like their special treasure that they keep and that they hold on to and that they can share with another friend, or helps them keep going, helps them get up the next day and keep going. So if that's all it does, then that's all it does. It's not something that is lucrative at times. And so I was like, I definitely, my day job is what sustains me, but it's going and taking those stories of my daily experience, that daily grind, and relating it out. So it doesn't have to be something that's fantastical or something that's made up or something that's created. Like, real life is just as engaging, that's just as important and just as relevant to document, and being able to share out my personal story with other people and have them relating to it and finding a special place for it in their hearts warms my heart, and then that's kind of what keeps me going with it all. Yeah. Do y'all have questions or comment? Ooh, look!
So I've been thinking about this since y'all kind of started introducing yourself. So in the last panel, it was a Careers in Comics panel, and Mayru brought up her experience being a trans consultant for James Comic when they were writing about a trans character, and kind of being the person who could speak about that experience and make their representation accurate. And as a cisgendered white person who's interested in creating comics that actually have good representation, I was just wondering about your thoughts about that situation in general, because I want to be careful of co-opting voices or misrepresenting people. I don't want to paint broad brushes, but I also want to put someone in a position where they are speaking for or trying to be an unwanted spokesperson for their entire community, which is also a really unfair position to put somebody in. So I've found certain communities online, like for example, there's a Tumblr called Writing with Color that talks about these issues, and they have paneled multiple people with different identities who approach how to represent different diverse identities. But I was just wondering if you had any thoughts about that in general, or about other communities that I could get involved with that would help with that.
Get a co-writer.
Yeah.
I tell that to everyone all the time. I'm like, okay, first off, let's stop the narcissism game. The comics is literally just an artist and a writer. It's a collaborative effort. There's an editor, an inker, a penciler, a flatter, sometimes a letterer, depending on how you're putting the comic together. There's a print sourcer and a specker and a buyer. There are many people who work multifacets to make a comic book happen. Just like if you are a creator or a writer, having a co-writer is also a very awesome thing for writing experiences that are not your own. I currently am working on a series called Katarina's Collection, and also Love Circuits, which features a Hispanic character and a lot of Spanish throughout the comic. Do I speak Spanish fluently? No. But do I have my best friend who's also my artist and co-writer who does? Yes. So I give them the proper credit that they are due as a creator for a book that I had characters that I influenced me wanted to put into a certain situation to make a comic about. And we worked together, and it was really great because now, it's got actual experience, and it has actual life, and it has actual narrative from a person who has lived from that perspective. Simple, easy, done. I just wish most people would stop, in the writer's field, it happens even more. A lot of books have, two authors that will work on a book, and then they'll make one name for both those two people, and it will be on the cover of the book. However, you could just write your name and the other person, and people will still enjoy it, knowing that it was written by two people and not just one.
And it's becoming more common that you can pay people who are experts in their field, either through identity or maybe they studied it. You can pay them to read through your work and see whether or not there are things that need to be adjusted. If you have friends who are of those identity, especially if they're creators, you can have them proofread it for you. I've done it for friends who want to have trans representation, so they will ask me to read through it. And again, these might be my friends who I know love me, but still they might phrase things in a certain way because they just don't see it from my point of view. And so, and it doesn't come from any place where they're trying to be hurtful or anything like that. And the fact that they're reaching out to me shows that they want to do it correctly, that they want to do it in the most loving and affirming way possible. And so, there's a couple avenues that you can take with that. Definitely you want to make sure you want to do right by the people that you're trying to instill into your comic. It's definitely not saying don't do it. It's just reach out to those people. If you have the means, help those people that you are representing by paying them to read your stuff, by paying them to edit your stuff. And again, if you have friends, get it into your friends' hands, because they'll be the first ones to tell you, hey, this doesn't make me comfortable. I don't like the wording in this. Because as your friend, I want you to have the best product possible. So there's a lot of different means out there to making sure that what you're doing is going well by the people that you're trying to represent.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I would, just to piggyback off of both of those ideas and going a bit further, to set up and create a space for that community to be able to tell their own stories where it doesn't have to come through a white lens at all, or, you know, a cis lens at all. Like, it could just be whatever they want to say. So if you want to, you know, illustrate their stories, or if you want to, you know, help them publish their story or something along those lines, it doesn't have to come from you to be a part of you.
I help you publish your stuff.
Oh gosh, yeah. This would not exist if she hadn't gone, just do it. Neither would this, actually.
I do it in that voice too. But no,
Yes. I know you love me very much, and I do the thing for you.
You
because
do
you're
the things.
right.
No,
Okay, no.
it's you have a person, they wanted to create something, but you can also have friends who will walk on an idea for like ages, where it's like stuck in their sock drawer, and you're like, you know, you can take this out, it's not like bad or anything. Finish creating it, and then put it in book form. There's also that perspective, a person who's going to be the champion, so to speak, to make you finish the thing. And then I get the satisfaction of now having that on my bookshelf. So
Yes.
there's always promoting other people to have their own voices as well, and wanting to see those voices exist, and telling them, critiquing them, making them share a Dropbox with you so that you can see that they're actually updating their pages. There
It's true, and
what-
it worked.
There are watchdog mama methods to make sure that books do eventually come out, and then also, but you know, it was,
Collaborating.
it's collaborating in a way.
It is a form of professional networking that I thoroughly endorse. If you're interested in telling a story, or interested in, you have a story that you want to grow, then collaborate with the people that story is drawing you to. It is immensely rewarding, and you will wind up with a better story, and so away. It is a way of connecting and growing.
And then you have a different form of friendship.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's the same as friendship, but it's a work relationship and friendship, and it's really entwined in a really like kind of complex, creative way, because you're both striving to make something exist that you can share with other people, and that's why I love collaborating and making anthologies. Anthologies, some people will be like in the comic stores, no, is this a sampler? No, it's not a sampler. It's someone's voice. It's their story that they wanted to tell, and they didn't have a place to allocate it earlier, so therefore giving anthologies their room to breathe allows more voices to be prolific and to get that start, and to also kind of crash course baby-wise through the whole entire print industry, which is
It's
its
true.
own creative beast.
I think maybe people noticed I did a lean when Mr. Loki said, oh yeah, it's easy. No, but it's easier if you
that way.
We don't mean it that
No,
way.
I know you don't.
I just
We're
think
not
you
all
can
like
do it.
CMYK, back and trap your shit. You want to know how to make your lines
Yeah.
100% black? Don't mess with my K-tone. If it's at 300%, I'm going to be angry. All of this is just print jargon.
Yeah.
And this
alien
is what I take care of to make the book happen. But you don't have to hear that. Instead, you get flower emails from me that say, yeah, that was perfect and great. I'm going to send that for production now. Have a good day.
Oh gosh. But yeah, make more friends. I know that was kind of the short version. Make more friends if you want to make better
friends.
stories.
Make friends in comics. Make
Oh, yeah.
friends who do the thing that you want to do as well, and then make them tell you their sources as well. It's not like secret hidden, like, I cannot reveal my secrets to you, smartpress.org. Like, it's not really hard to find these places to create the things, even if you want to do enamel pins, even if you want to do postcards, even if you want to go to cat print.
with
Like-
enamel pins.
Yes.
Everybody be like keeping this secret on loud.
What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
actually,
True
we have-
Metalworks
I'll tell you.
made by Cooper? It's very public.
What?
No.
What? This is the first time I've heard.
Yeah.
Anyway, so make friends in comics if you
Yeah.
want to know the secrets to do the things. But it's not that hard. It is still a group of people. If you are a writer and you don't necessarily think that your stories are going anywhere, then talk to an editor and then tell them what it is you're trying to convey and have them do the job that they literally is in their job description, edit your work. Very simple. Goodness. There's a lot of us and we're on Twitter.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a really good time for indie comics, you know, with
Yes.
with Kickstarter, Patreon, with, I feel like, comic conventions being more open to the idea of having indie comic creators and wanting a space for them. And it's getting to a point where people are, you know, beginning to see that this is a thing and that it's not going to go away. And so when I say it's easy, I mean like it's easier than it was back then, because there are places that are willing, you know, to print enamel pins now and print all these various products that you might not have been able to do before. There are more printing places that are going to know how to make zines for you, know how to do what you want to do, because more and more people are going into these spaces and saying, I want to make these, and being able to get it out there. It's easier with like Etsy and all that kind of thing to get your work to the hands of the people that need it. Like, it's still a lot of work, obviously, a lot of work of learning where do I print this place, where are the best places, but the thing is it's really nice because a lot of people will say it online where they print it. Like, I do not hide where I print my stuff. Like, if you're in the LA area, I'm like, oh, it's just around the corner over there. They're really good and they're cheap. And so, like, you know, yeah, people are willing to help you to make the kind of stuff that you want to make. You just gotta know how to ask and know how to ask professionally in a way that isn't like you're just trying to leech. And I guess it's important.
As Spike says all the time with me, especially in black folks in comics, it's not Highlander. There cannot just be only one. Like, there's not just one queer book that stands for all queer representation. There's not just one creators of color book that stands for all creators of color. That is not how this goes.
This is it. That's the one.
That's it. Yeah, it's $25,000 now. This is the Fire Festival edition. Like, it's not what you're trying to do. It's what you're trying to create.
I want to be spoiled for options.
Yeah, exactly.
Please.
And then, you know, that leads into, well, suddenly now I have an agent. Suddenly I now have a deal. Suddenly I'm looking at prospects from other publishers. But do I even want to work with this publisher? I want to look at their history. I want to know what they've printed before me. Are they interested in people that I don't want to necessarily work with? That all comes later. Don't even worry about that now. Now just collect your stories, make them short.
Yeah,
Start short.
Make them short.
Do not give me your 40-page magnum opus on your stories about your plant life character and your Nico cat girl. Please just start short and know that, you know, we're looking at it from an objective perspective of wanting to get your best story out in front of people's eyes and to give them the best representation, not just of all representation, but your representation as well is very important too. We're taking multiple things and putting it into the perspective of queer representation and house representation and tree representation.
It really did wind up with a lot of trees. It really did.
The trees needed to.
Yeah,
The
that's
trees
right.
needed to.
Speak to the tree.
You speak to the trees.
Is there any
The
other?
Lorax, oh wait, the Lorax was great.
Oh, good.
So, Mr. Loki, you were mentioning growing up with historical fiction in particular.
Yeah.
Just wondering everyone's general opinion on historical representation within a creative field, basically, and the kind of importance of. Yeah.
Are you talking about like historical accuracy and like where or?
Right. Well, in terms of say queer interpretations of historical figures.
Yeah.
Well, timed with historical accuracy.
Yeah. Listen, there is going to be a panel on that.
Yeah.
And I am going to be on it, and we are going to talk about that.
That is not a panel, but
That is at 1 p.m. So are you going to be around?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's going to be 3 of us on there. There's going to be Josh Trujillo, who does a whole collection of very crazily researched research on queer representation in historical figures and how he delved into that, because, you know, a lot of it, because, you know, in a lot of spaces in history, queer representation had to be hidden. So it was how he went through and he found evidence for it, or how he tried to document their life as accurately as possible in the guise of the secret lives that they had to lead. And then there's Emily Uland, who is going to be talking about a lot of the queer historical comics she does, which was, she's going to be talking about Shabbadeon and all of that, and I'm going to be talking about historical queer Roman stuff, but in a time when it wasn't considered viable anymore due to the introduction of Christianity. So come to that panel, and we will answer all those questions for you, I hope. Or something.
And more.
And more.
Any other question, people?
Ask me now about your taxes before I leave. No, I'm just kidding.